I think the idea is if it's not a real game, at least it could be a mechanic for a game. But
Sure, no, why? It's just pointless. Just don't use it then. Don't touch it, put it on your shelf, and leave it there.
that's what most people did with Candyland. I guess that's something. If you're already basically creating a customized monster, I don't really know what the purpose of trying to go by the rules as written or the mechanics as written. I don't see how that makes sense. You know, you're already doing custom work on the character. Great games that can be challenging are ones where your frustration level is like just underneath your desire to play. So that you keep moving forward. There are, however, these things where the games where your frustration level increases above your desirability to play, and it's at that point that you're likely to just throw it away and just stop. Alex, how are you feeling about going into Battle for Democracy?
Feeling alright about it.
Okay.
For democracy, only.
Yeah, only for democracy.
Yes.
More on that on a later episode. But for right now, thank you everybody for joining us on this episode of Total Pebble Knockdown. I am Nathan.
And I am Alex.
And today on the show, we are talking about something that is not specifically that game. More once I've played a little bit of it, but...
Join us on our live show this week for democracy.
Yeah, just in general. I came across an interesting question on the Everything app, and I thought that I would bring it to your attention.
Was it about everything?
It was about everything, yes.
Perfect.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. A movie I'm sure you have not seen. Oh, you saw it?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, good.
It was weird.
Yeah, sure was. I think that should have been... The name of that movie really should have been Weird, the movie.
I think the best part was when there were rocks.
The rocks were great. The hot dog fingers, also pretty amazing.
That was a bit weird.
It was odd. I was like, I can't believe that they did that. Anyway, the point is, we're not talking about that. An interesting post that I think has a few things to dissect, and I'll just read it to you. Candyland isn't a game because you don't make choices. It has the trappings of a game to teach children how to take turns, etc. But, wait, can you use Candyland as a resolution mechanic? You succeed on a red, green, purple, you crit fail on a dot space, crit succeed on a shortcut. This is the question that is being posed. Now, the thing is, the first part of this that I kind of want to get into is the assertion at the very beginning that Candyland isn't a game. I don't know if that's a correct assertion, because it is a game, it's just... it's
the
just...
reasoning they give for their assertion is bad.
Yes.
Because not all games require you make choices. Some are very linear experiences.
Yes.
And not only that, I don't think I've played Candyland in a while. Do you roll dice in Candyland or just draw cards?
I'll post you a picture of the board just so that you can get it for reference, but you
Thanks.
just draw cards that say, this is the color, and it takes you to that color.
Yeah, there's no difference between, say, that mechanic or rolling a dice.
Mm-hmm.
It's random chance with a deck of cards. So to say it's not a game because you don't make choices would be saying that, you know, Yahtzee's not a game because you're not making choices, you're rolling dice.
Right. I think the only thing you could say is you do make at least a choice of what you're rolling for. Candyland...
Sure.
I mean, I'll give him this. Candyland has very, very minimal choice as far as games go. I basically just pick up a card, and I don't have a choice in what cards I'm picking up. So I really don't have any agency, but that is not to say that there aren't games that do that also take away player
it's literally just a game of chance at that point.
It's a complete game of chance, but that still makes it a game. It's still a game. The trappings of teaching children how to take turns. Okay, I understand what we're getting at, is the idea that it's just, it's a game for kids to get them used to how game mechanics work, and I can understand that. But now this is the part that I thought was really interesting as a resolution mechanic. And I guess what what the idea is similar to like rolling dice, or like flipping over a deck of cards or something like that. What if you could flip over cards that were like for Candyland, and what could you use? Could you use that board to actually determine passes or fails or successes or something like that?
But again, if Candyland's not a game, then I don't think Candyland would make a good resolution mechanic. But I mean, you could absolutely use it. I don't see a reason to, though, when you have so many other better options than, say, an arbitrary color assignment to the cards on there.
I think the idea is if it's not a real game, at least it could be a mechanic for a game. But
sure, no, why? It's pointless. Just don't use it then. Don't touch it, put it on your shelf and leave it there.
That's what most people did with Candyland. I guess that's something. But here is the one thing I could think of that might actually be an interesting resolution mechanic, is about something like initiative. Like, everybody starts at the very beginning of the board, right? And then every time you take a turn, every time we get like a round to a turn, if this was like D&D, for instance, and every time we get to a turn, people flip over a card to begin with, and we see where everybody is in the line. There could be an interesting mechanic for that. And the other thing that I was thinking is there might be a way to utilize it. The first person who hits the end of that line, it benefits them in some way. Like that. Yeah.
As an initiative
almost
tracker,
like a race. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be neat as an initiative tracker.
Yeah.
Because then you could have a visualization of, here, you are an initiative order this turn. And then after everyone's gone, you each draw a new card. If you're trying to do like each turn you roll new initiative.
Yeah.
Then maybe you do it that way. But that would, for D&D for instance, that would negate your initiative stat completely.
It would have to be there in place of that. So then the other question is if you're actually using like a race mechanic where you actually have to get to the end. And so every time you take like an action, it could be to move, and you would pick up a card to move. And then the first person who actually reaches the end of the course would essentially win the race.
Yeah, but then it takes what should be skill and, like, based on...
turns into chance.
Your ability to complete chance.
So basically what we're saying is that whatever you utilize this for is going to introduce more chance into the situation than it previously had.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because
I would rather... Yeah. If you were going to replace a resolution mechanic or use another game as a mechanic... for resolution, I would say just use a deck of cards at that point.
Seems like an easier solution, and something that people would have readily available.
Yeah, it's you pretty much always have one nearby. And then it's got 4 suits from 2 to 10, Jack, King, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. And then you got jokers in there if you want to have those do anything special, like crit fails. But you could essentially just have it from 1 to 10, then 11, 12, and 13, and then Ace could be either 1 or 14, for instance.
And I want to say that there's already some TTRPGs that actually use a deck of cards.
Oh, probably.
Wasn't it Deadlands? It's the one that's kind of like the Weird West sort of thing. I think Deadlands is the one. Okay. But I think it uses a deck of cards as its main resolution mechanic.
Sure, it's probably a really easy thing to work into a game.
Oh, sure. You can use it for, if you're doing that for initiative order, you could use it for that easily enough. You could just as easily say, like, if you want to do a successful hit or something, you could pick up a card and just arrange it so that, like, whatever the card is, if it hits over the number it needs to hit or under, it determines if you hit. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting using a deck of cards in a banking system.
Oh, okay.
So you can draw a card and then you can be like, I'm going to bank this for later.
Oh, sure. And you can have so many cards banked for, like,
later.
So
you could have, like, maybe each player could have, like, 3 cards banked or something like that. And then it becomes, all right, well, you can either draw and use a card, draw, bank a card, or you can use a card.
Right. And, I suppose you could do something similar to Candyland, but it does feel like a deck of cards provides more options for you than that. Because these are just going to have your colors you know, how many colors are in the thing? Is it 6? There's 6 colors. In a deck of cards, standard old 52, you have 2 different colors for suits, and then you have 13.
Well, it's 2 to
right.
10, then 3 face cards.
2 to 10, 3 face cards, and the ace.
Yep. So it's 13.
13, yeah. That's right.
Yep.
I had to think about that. 52. I could have just said 52 divide by 4. You'd get your.
Oh, I can't do math that fast.
Anyway, 13. So you and you have 13 different cards in each one of those suits. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can actually cut this. In order to make this work. It was such an interesting thing, the idea of using a whole other board game as a resolution mechanic for something, and I was like, how do we come up with this as a concept? It's like assuming that I'm going to go back and like use the game of life as a resolution mechanic for another game. Like,
yeah. It's also like we're not in the habit here of giving whoever owns Candyland more money, whether it be Hasbro or Milton Bradley. I don't know.
Remember, but anyway, yeah,
doesn't matter.
Whoever it is, yeah. The only thing I can think of though is if Candyland is actually owned by Hasbro, that would at least make sense if they wanted to use it for a Dungeons and Dragons because it's synergy for the products.
Yeah, because at least then they're making use of a product they already own for the one that they've just gotten rid of a ton of their staff on.
You know what you... Yeah, exactly. We got rid of the staff so that we could introduce Candyland as the new mechanic for the thing. You're just using the old properties. Put that stuff in there. They could use Candyland for Magic the Gathering.
Perfect.
Just have the color cards be the resolution mechanics for that. Perfect. Mana pools. How do I determine how much mana I have? Flip the cards over, see how many spaces you go for. Your mana pool just keeps increasing. That works. Yeah. Who needs staff on these when we can just use our old board games in order to
pretty much
resolve this? Anyway. Any other kinds of old school games that you used to play that you could try to shoehorn into a resolution mechanic? Like, what did you play when you were but a smallin'?
Like for
board games.
I mean, you could always do classics like a War.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe you do Go Fish resolution mechanics.
Go Fish. That would be a good one.
But then you're just playing another game while you're trying to play another game.
I want the one where you try to get the hook into the little fish's mouths. Do you remember
there you
that?
go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to catch so many fish. Then I'm just playing Stardew Valley at that point. It's just the fishing competition. That or Hungry Hungry Hippos. That's how we choose initiative order. How many things can the hippos get?
See, all of those though, everything like that would be just a detraction from the other game you're trying to play at that point. I don't know.
I know a fighting mechanic we can utilize. Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots, yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
There you go.
This is how we determine fights.
This is how combat goes. Alright, you are red, I am blue. Whoever knocks the other one out first wins combat, the other person's dead.
Yeah.
Dies.
This is how we determine. Then we determine damage afterward. But, you know, we don't have to worry about, like, rolling to hit. We literally do Rock'em Sock'em Robots and determine who's going to hit.
Yeah, it's no longer roll to hit, it's Rock'em to Sock'em.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy. You're the defender, I'm the attacker, let's go.
You know what? Even better idea. What are those, not Hulk hands, but the ones that you get the big Sock'em boppers?
Yeah.
We're just gonna use those.
Great.
Combat is real these days.
Combat is real. We're gonna go to the Fallout universe and just use the power fist.
We're just gonna do a boxing match as a resolution mechanic these days.
Yeah. How do we resolve combat in Dungeons and Dragons? Get in the ring.
Yeah.
Get in the
Same
ring.
way politicians should resolve things.
So if anyone else has some ideas about how to use Candyland outside of actually playing it, because who wants to do that? I guess you can tell us. But I'm more curious about what other games might actually be utilized for some kind of mechanic.
Let us know. Do you think you should use other games as resolution mechanics for another game you're playing? Or is that just silly and you should just use easier to use resolution mechanics and pulling out a whole nother game to do it?
Is this just Game-ception?
Yes.
Then I have to use a resolution mechanic to resolve the other game that I've used for the other game that I've used for the other game. Yeah.
We're gonna combine games together. So you're playing Jenga, but between the blocks of the tower are cards. And the cards correspond to dice, and the dice correspond to which Yu-Gi-Oh cards you can play.
And then you pull the trap card and the whole Jenga tower falls down. Perfect. We're gonna make this game. It's all about the cones. Anyway. You forgot it's about the cones. Okay. Let us know in the comments down below about something related to this topic. Let us know in the comments down below. I was trawling through Reddit, which is a scary place to be, and I was actually interested in seeing if anyone had some really weird questions, and
those are my favorite questions, because I don't know what to expect.
Exactly, and you know, that's really interesting because so many of the weird questions that I came across were actually just really regular questions, but I think people thought that they were weird. However, I came across one that's very old, and we're talking like 7 years ago, but it really did get me to thinking, because there's been several edits on this since, that maybe we overthink things too much. So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to read the 2 edits that came out of it. I just want you to kind of get a general idea when I'm reading this about what this person is trying to achieve with the mechanics that are around Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Okay. The title of this is Weird Question, I Need Less HP? I've been brainstorming this and can't come up with anything. I need 4 less hit points. The character is an outsider that takes full HP per HD and doesn't have a con score. He's 4 HP over 666. And I can't think of anything that lowers HP and not con score. Edit. It's not a PC. I'm not doing some insane bullshit with rule-breaking insanity. It's a theoretical NPC monster that's very high up in levels. That should clear up the confusion a little bit. In hindsight, I shouldn't have mentioned the HP total at all. I thought it was funny. Edit 2. Alright, so some clarification. The insane HP and no con score being weird is me completely reading its sheet wrong. It has D12s and a con modifier of 12. I know it's insane, but this is a monster trying to hit 666, and after noticing there was a clerical error on the sheet, we were able to figure out how to fix it. It had 40 extra hit points from some place I couldn't find, and by dropping those, it went to 606, and we just traded 2 feats for epic toughness. It's at 666 now. Woo! So, to clarify, for the TLDR out there, this long thing that they were trying to achieve is so that they could make a theoretical monster 4 hit points weaker than they previously were. The thing I think is, why not just put the hit points at 666 and call it good?
First of all, no one's gonna question you if you fudge the monster's hit points 4 less. You go, oh yeah, I rolled it all out and it just so happened to do it. It doesn't matter. Like, okay. I thought this was gonna go in a completely different direction. But alright then, let's have your demon at 666.
What did you think
I thought this was going to be a question. I thought it was going to be about how things in D&D have just way too much hit points.
Oh, yeah, no, because I got the idea that this is really just a high-level monster that theoretically they were never even supposed to attack. Like, it wasn't really about that. Because some people in the comments were basically like, just give it 666 hit points. OP responded that this monstrosity would never, ever, ever see play at my table.
Then why even build it?
Well, it's apparently a friend's monster, not theirs. I've replied to other comments saying this, but it's more a joke build than anything from my understanding and not meant to see gameplay. If it's a joke build, then you've really overthought this entirely. Way too much. I guess what this really got me thinking about is, what point do we really find that we're vastly overthinking the numbers?
I think at that point you're vastly overthinking the numbers.
Yeah, I think I would have gotten there before we got to the edits. I think, like, the very first part where it's like, he's 4 hit points over 666, and I can't think of anything that lowers hit point and not con score. I would have immediately been like, the number is now 666, or realistically, even if it's 670, he got 4 hit points worth of damage. So he's a 666.
He's got a scratch on his arm.
He's got a scar across his face. And now that was 4 hit points of damage. So he's at 666, and when you meet him, he's there. That's how we work it. It's just
and even if he did have 666 hit points, what are the players going to do in character if they ever came up against it? Look at it and go, "Oh God, he's got 666 hit points." Like, are the players gonna know this, or is it just a kind of ha joke to myself?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, it didn't really even matter because it's supposed to be just an insane number with a character that has way too many hit points. I don't usually assume, and I don't think I've ever had a time where the players knew the hit point total of the monster anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe in, like, a video game, but not in tabletop. That's usually just GM facing, not something that the players have to deal with. So, I don't know. I thought to myself, having seen this and reading it over and over, I kept thinking to myself, boy, sometimes we really do get lost in the sauce here, don't we? Like, we get really wrapped up in the mechanics of it too much, where it just becomes like an exercise in a Sisyphean task to roll a boulder up a hill for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, see, if I was going to introduce a monster like this to be ridiculous and have 666 hit points...
Yeah.
First of all, I probably would actually do it as just a funny thing, and I would let the players know at the table. It'd be like, by the way, this guy's got 666 hit points, and kind of talk him up to make him seem really big. But it also probably has something in there that makes him take quadruple damage from every source of damage.
Yeah.
That way, they'll go, oh shit, I don't know if we can take this, and they'll hit him, and they'll be like, all right, mark it down, and like, a hit of 6 would then be like 24.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd go down so fast.
Yeah.
He doesn't have 666 at that point.
Sure.
He's got, hold on, let me do that quick math. Quick.
Back of the napkin math.
166.
Sure.
Math. No, calculator on my phone math.
Oh, got it.
Who needs napkins? So it's much better at that point where he's got 166 hit points instead. It's still a lot of hit points, but like not nearly the daunting task.
The thing that really kind of made me hit my head against the table is when OP had basically said, from my understanding, it's not meant to see gameplay. Because it's at that point where I just, like, don't even worry about the hit point. If it's never even going to be... Unless you have players that are just so obstinate that they think they are going to take on essentially a god character that you've built as joke, I don't see what the purpose is. If it's just that you really like the idea of building a monster that has 666 hit points, it's just... Alright.
Some people are really into that theory crafting.
I guess.
And I get it. Sometimes it's fun to be like, oh, I thought of this really cool build, or this really cool idea, or what if this? But I don't think that putting that much thought into something that's never going to get used is worth it.
Yeah, and not even if it's like a theoretical monster, but if you're already basically creating a customized monster, I don't really know what the purpose of trying to go by the rules as written or the mechanics as written. I don't see how that makes sense. You know, you're already doing custom work on the character, so
just make it a variant of the monster that it's based on.
Right, and it has four less hit points. I think this is just one of those cases where it was such a minutia of, like, I need to create a character that has 4 less hit points, and I was like, why? Just like, why did we have to go through this exercise?
Just for fun,
I guess.
Apparently.
This doesn't seem fun to me at all.
How many comments did this person get?
19.
At least they didn't get 19,000.
No, they did not get 19,000. This is a...
I'm sure the majority of people that looked at this went, what?
Oh, here's a good comment, though. Just punch yourself for up to 4 damage every day.
Yeah.
It works. But no, most people were just like, just make the number 666. It's fine.
Yeah.
No one cares. And realistically, that would be my advice, too. I think it's fun to work with the mechanics of a game, and, TTRPGs have a tendency to be kind of mechanics. Like, if you really get into it, there's a lot of mechanics you can play around with, but sometimes you just don't have to do all of that work. It's more than you really... Yeah, exactly.
That's like when you spelt the ball bearings and then
we had to figure out what happened with all of them.
And then use your whatever spell to force push them.
Oh, it was Thunder Wave.
Oh, yeah.
Thunder Wave.
Which moved all the ball bearings at pretty high velocity and shotgunned. Yep.
Because they were considered to be, loose objects, basically. Like, that were under a certain weight class. So yeah, my 1,000 ball bearings that I ended up putting on the floor and then shockwaved, and they were on the... Yeah, they went all over the place. But we didn't have to calculate, like, the damage of every single one of those that were going forward. I don't think they even really hurt the enemies so much in the thing, but they did blow out the windows.
The enemies were still alive.
Oh, yeah, no, especially after that.
I think the Thunder Wave killed him.
I think the Thunder Wave did kill them, but we did kind of explain that the ball bearings would indeed move, and they would blown out the windows, and they blew apart the poor house. That poor farmer. I'm so sorry about your house.
What happened here? I don't know. The orcs must have did it.
Wasn't that the resolution? We saved the farmer, and the farmer came up and was like, what the hell happened to my house?
No, I should have had the farmer been like, you saved my house, you saved my life, but you destroyed my house. You gotta pay me reparations.
Here, let me just get out my ball bearings.
Should be like, sorry about the house, here's a gold piece, that'll fix everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, the barred bearing shotgun, as I like to think of it. I'm kind of curious for a question to leave with everybody, if you have ever had, like, a really, if you've really had a complex sort of mechanical quandary that you've tried to work out in one of these games, how much minutia did you have to think of in order to get to an answer that should probably just be a custom
How much
number?
Is too much?
How much is too much? Do you really want to calculate the damage of every single one of those ball bearings? We didn't.
Yes.
Well, okay, maybe we did. We had a future topic suggestion from our graphic designer.
A brand director, if you will.
Sorry. Brand director.
And designer.
And graphic designer.
Person who makes all these great thumbnails. Also the one that came out on the day of recording. Fantastic.
Terrific. I hope you really enjoy them. That's kind of like one of the big comments we usually get, is that our covers are terrific. Because they are.
They are fantastic.
That's right. If only we put as much work into the content. as the cover
Yes.
suggests. But anyway, so Crave had given us a topic that actually I really do want to talk about, which was a clip from the Librarian, and it was about Rain World, and basically the Librarian was talking about games being punishing, and not having a lot of save locations so that you have to go over and over them time and time again. And the whole quote is basically, "Not my job as a player to persevere, it's your job as a game to make me want to play you." And I feel like we've kind of talked about this a little bit with Souls-likes in some way, but it is something that I have encountered once or twice. Not in Rain World, because I haven't played Rain World. But there was a game just this last year that this instantly reminded me of, which was also a Metroidvania title called 9 Years of Shadows. It's one of those games where instantly, when you start getting into it, you think that this is a really great concept. Visually stunning, very, very interesting, with this like black and white world that then turns into color as you're going through it. But then it reaches this problem, which is that it's not interconnected enough to be able to loop back to certain save points. And so it will give you one, but then it will ask you to go through a vast number of, like, you know, parts, and usually a boss, and sometimes a sub-boss after the boss, before you'll ever get back to a save point. And if at any point you die, it resets to the progress that you had at the save point last time you saved. The reason why this eventually became a problem for me was mostly because I realized that what that meant is that the game was going to insist I then do the boss battles and the mini-boss battles over again when I died. They set up a way where basically I can't backtrack. So, like, once, so, like, you go down a cliff that's too far down, and you can't get back up until you have the special ability. So, normally, if I realized that this was happening, where I had, like, mini-bosses and big bosses and stuff like that, but there were other challenges past this, and I could die, and I'd have to do it all over again. My normal thought process at that point would be, okay, well, I'll take care of this one thing, and then I guess I'll backtrack and save my progress, and then come back. But it didn't let me do that. Eventually, I got frustrated with it, and I'd be like, please, can I have a save point, a save chamber, somewhere around here? Because it's just exorbitant. They'd set up a save point, and then they'd have me go through a series of places to get a new ability, and then have me use that ability for a bunch of challenges before I could save, after I had just got the new ability. And it just felt so difficult to actually get from this point to this point, and I'm so used to Metroids where usually there'll be a way to save right after big moments. You know, big moments like that. And so not having that really makes you appreciate how important it is to have good amounts of save points that are easily, you know, accessible. And it's really a shame, because if it weren't for that major problem, I probably would have had it a lot higher on my best to worst list, and that was really one of the big issues for it. I have not played Rain World. I am familiar with the idea of a slug cat, and I am familiar with what people like about it, and that it can be very punishing.
I have an issue, and not even with save points like this. I don't typically play Metroidvanias or games that have a lot of, like, I do occasionally play JRPGs, but a lot of the newer ones just kind of let you save in places. But it's been a while since I played one. But I have this issue similarly, where it is not my job, you know, to want to play the game. The game has to make me want to play it. And if the game stops making me want to play the game, I'm going to stop playing the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, it can be punishing, that's fine. It's this is the reason I don't get on with Souls-likes a lot of times. It's just that punishing nature turns me off of it. Like,
Sure.
it's not because I don't like the get good mentality, obviously. I don't care, honestly.
Yeah.
I want the game to be engaging and fun enough that even if I've got something that is a hindrance to me, I think the game is fun enough to continue pushing forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to persevere when I'm not having fun.
Exactly. One of the early examples I can remember of this was not in any of the genres that we were talking about previously, but it was actually Splinter Cell, the original Splinter Cell.
The old one, on PS1?
Yeah, well, for me it was Xbox, but...
oh, whatever.
But the thing about it is that in the original 2 games for the Splinter Cell series, they did not have the ability to save on demand, where you could, put a save down whenever you wanted to. They had save points, they had checkpoints. And the place where you started to really feel it was level, I want to say it was 5 or 6, but it was the Chinese embassy. And I remember it so vividly because of this very, very real problem that they set up this mission that basically says that no one can detect you. You can't kill anybody. You can't, like, even knock people out. Nobody can know that you're there. You have to make no trace that you were there. And there is a part with that criteria where you have to go through this huge chunk of a big open area in the middle of the embassy, going up and down hallways with a bunch of different characters, and at any point you basically insta-fail if people see you.
Yeah,
and
sections of games like that are really tough.
Yeah.
Because one little mess up and you've got to start the whole thing over again.
Didn't really hit a checkpoint until you literally would be able to see a thermal camera, wait for a guard to come by, hit a keypad, and then go in when they're not looking, and then enter in the keypad to get to one of the guarded rooms. And then you hit a checkpoint at that point, after you've gone through the main hall and pretty much all of the embassy. And it was at that point where, like, after a few tries with that, I was like, oh god, what is this? I hate this so much.
Yeah.
Like, this is bad.
And I get it, because people who can do that and then get through it are like, oh, I feel really accomplished.
Oh, I was real happy when I got it done.
Like, right, but like...
real happy, but...
I feel like at that point, though, it's the... how do you want people to actually get past this or not? Because there are plenty of people who are going to quit right then and there. That's something, for instance, Josh Strife Hayes, when he does his worst MMO videos, he talks about quit moments, which are moments in games that people will quit at. Like, all of these little things here that are not accessible or are hard or are frustrating or are not explainable are all quit moments. And, like, every single one of those adds up to making someone not want to play your game.
Yeah, it's the check the controller moment. It's like... throw it away, don't want to do this anymore, sorry. Great games that can be challenging are ones where your frustration level is like just underneath your desire to play. So that you keep moving forward. There are, however, these things where the games where your frustration level increases above your desirability to play, and it's at that point that you're likely to just throw it away and just stop.
Is this a teachable, learnable moment, or is this just a frustration with no benefit?
Right. Occasionally, to play devil's advocate, sometimes I do wonder if we're spoiled these days because of it, because I remember the old school days when, like, saving your games or, like, losing progress was, like, a common experience. But I've kind of come to the conclusion that, no, we just never liked it. I don't think we ever really appreciated that, the idea of losing progress on a regular basis, and we're glad we don't have to do it now.
Yeah.
Because it was annoying, and it was a really easy way to lose patience with games being the way that they were. When you had, like, X number of lives or something like that, those old mechanics, those were frustrating experiences. And looking back on it now, yeah, no, I probably wouldn't play them that way, and only played them then because there really weren't a lot of options at the time.
No, now there's too many options.
That's true. That's true. You have so many options at your disposal. Hey, I remember back when you would get the GameCube, and I didn't have a memory stick, because you had to have the removable memory stick. So if I was playing the games before I got the memory stick, I basically just had to accept that whatever I was going to achieve in this game is going to be lost to the ages the second I turned it off. It just ain't coming back.
This is something Second Wind had talked about recently, was saves.
Yes.
Which was interesting.
Yeah. It's a good topic, and how they do saves in different games are really interesting. Sometimes they'll be limited, sometimes you'll only have so many files. In the case of Kingdom Come Deliverance, you literally had to have a potion of remembrance or whatever it was, that you would have to drink, and that would allow you to save your game on a save file. And if you didn't have it, you couldn't save. I didn't like that mechanic, just for the record. I thought that was stupid, but okay.
For Elite Dangerous, for instance, the game that I have about 800 hours in now, you only get one save slot.
Sure.
It's not even a save slot. It is you get your character, your profile, and that is the save. You cannot save extra times. It is kind of like an MMO, but it's one character, kind of. It's just your progression.
Yeah.
I wiped that save once because you can clear it.
Yeah.
And reset to the original. Years ago, I think I had probably 200 something hours in at that point, and I just went, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I went, I want to start over. So I wiped the whole save and started new.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I'm doing, by the way.
Oh, good. Well, don't worry. Another 800 hours, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Great.
That's a different open world gaming problem, however.
Yes. I've seen plenty of games, and I've played plenty of games that basically just have the autosave feature so that you always have just one save. And I think that that's fine. The only thing that I get a little trepidatious about is that I do worry about the save files becoming corrupt, which is why I like to have backups. And,
yes. Again, Second Wind talked about this really recently, like a couple weeks ago.
Funny.
Where they had said, I think Marty was saying that he wants to be able to have 1,000 saves, like unlimited saves. Just give me as many as I can have.
Right.
I'll take them.
Right.
Because autosave's great, but I want to back it up myself.
Right. In a case like a Baldur's Gate 3, they let you do. I think that they have autosaves, but then you can also do hard saves. And I would even be fine if a game decides that there aren't autosaves, but you have to do hard saves, and you have to choose that, because it would keep people on the ball of saying, oh, right, I need to save. Because, again, I think sometimes we do get used to the fact that we just accept that an autosave is going to happen. And I've definitely gotten into that, where it's like, oh yeah, it's obviously going to autosave, and I die, and I'm like, oh, where are they going to bring me back from? And it's like, no, you hard save in this game. And I'll be like, damn it, I gotta be careful.
Yeah, I always end up saving twice whenever I save.
That is
because I save it once, and then I save it again, just to make sure.
Just in case. Yeah.
Just in case.
Because you can always erase an old one later, right? Like I'll just keep a couple saves around.
My issue is with autosaves, is when games like Fallout 4, for instance, or Skyrim are like, oh yeah, every single autosave is going to just continuously build.
Oh yeah.
I've got 50 autosaves. It's like, I don't need 50 autosaves.
Yeah.
Do maybe 3.
Yeah. The other thing that kind of annoys me, too, is when they do autosaves, but the autosave is, after you've made a critical decision, instead of before you've made that decision.
Yeah.
Which does happen, because I would do a hard save usually before critical decisions in, an RPG. Not necessarily because I'm going to backtrack and not do it, but I might want to see what the other options are later. I did that, like Starfield is a good example of that, where there is a critical moment where you have to make a choice between going one place and another, and I wanted to see what actually happened in both of those scenarios. So I did a hard save before that, but if I just relied on the autosaves, I really wouldn't have had that option. They pretty much would have just saved. But in terms of just the difficulty level, I don't think it's a bad idea to have save points, checkpoints, Firelink shrines, whatever you want to use, but you gotta be aware of especially large chunk sections that are going to be difficult, that don't have any way of like saving progress. I've stepped away from games and come back to them later, but have almost written them off completely because of that reason. And I think it was only because I had I had a period of time away from it where my frustration waned, but my interest in the game stayed put, to where that ratio went back to a place where I could go back to it. Like, it's like I really liked it, and that's kind of like with the second chances that I'm doing now. That's a lot of them are that, where it's like my frustration with the game rose above my desire to play it, but now my frustration's waned, so now I can say, yeah, maybe I can try going back to them and feel better about it.
Revisit them now that I'm not angry.
Yeah, now that I'm not angry at the games. But a lot of them were not because of save points. It was because of other issues. How often should we be able to hit a checkpoint? Like,
whenever I need it. Because here's an example from Pacific Drive.
Yeah.
Because that one doesn't save while you're on missions.
Yeah.
When you're out and exploring. But they implemented something recently, which was, hey, sometimes people need to go do things IRL, stop playing. So they implemented a couple options for that, which is you can quit and save. You'll go back to the shop from the mission from where you are. It'll just be like, all right, I need to quit, I need to save, and you could either ditch all the items you've collected during that one or keep them, up to you, how challenging you want to make it. But sometimes you need to go, so it's like, all right, quit and save, and then when you load the game back in, you'll just be at Oppie's shop.
Sure, yeah.
That way it's, all right, well, I made a bunch of progress on this mission, but I gotta go.
Yeah.
So either, and again, the choice to either be able to keep all the stuff you collected, or to just drop it and go but still save is nice, because then at least players who want that challenge can have the challenge, and players who are like, no, I gotta go do other things, I have a little bit to play, this is taking longer than I expected, can still get their benefits from doing the things. So that quality.
Pacific Drive, actually, the way I had played it, because you didn't tell me, I didn't know about those options that you told me about. That
one's brand new.
And in the demo, I don't even know if it had those choices. But the fact of the matter was, when after I'd gone through those places and I got back to the shop after I died in the maelstrom, and nothing I had done saved, it was really at that point where I was like, I'm done now. I don't like this.
Yeah,
and it
with
was
those
frustration.
options,
oh yeah,
you probably would have been like, oh, this is fine. I have to repair my car, but
I have to repair my car, but at least I kept stuff from my journey, because that would be fine. I'd be fine with that. So I think that's going to have to end up being one of my second chances at some point when I'm not angry at it anymore.
It's going to be worth it.
It would be worth it. I have a few in the can right now that I'm trying to finish up, which I'm having mixed success on, to be honest with you.
That's fine. Ooh.
But cares. I would ask folks out there if there's a game that you found particularly frustrating for the lack of being able to save or keep your data, and what those would be. I don't think we even got into, and maybe we can talk about on another episode, the idea of Iron Man modes or hardcore modes. The one save.
That's a topic for a different time.
That's a different discussion, because I almost never play that way. Because I know it's going to frustrate the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Easily. But let us know in the comments down below. Alex, I think we are all questioned out for the day. We've done enough thought
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too many thoughts, not enough experiments.
Exactly. There's not enough memory to save up in our heads. Not enough RAM. But for folks that might want to check out some more stuff from Total Pebble Knockdown, where could they go?
You can go to totalpebbleknockdown.com.
That's right. When you're over there, you can also check out our Patreon. We have some additional stuff that we don't usually air on our YouTube channel over there. And you can also get episodes of the show, full episodes of the show, before we air them publicly. So that's fun, before any of the segments come out. You can also find us on every podcast app known to mankind. Please rate and review and subscribe there. We are kind of based in Spotify, but you can find us other places. We aggregate everywhere, pretty much.
Pretty much.
You can also find us on social media apps, whichever ones we are actively on. I am at Titanium.
I am at EXP Limited, and our show is at Pebble Knockdown.
So you can check us out there. And of course, where you're probably watching this is on YouTube. You can always find us here. We post here very regularly. With that said, I think we can wrap up this episode of TPK. And boy, it's starting to feel like spring out there. Getting a little warmer.
Yes. Time to play outside.
Time to play outside, which is probably not good for the stuff we talk about on this show. But that's a whole other thing. We don't talk about that. We talk about indoor kid stuff. So
yeah.
Anyway,
time to make a gardening podcast.
I need to make a gardening podcast. I'll tell you. I need to.
It can be you and Crave.
It could be me and Crave. Oh, that'd be great. I could talk about how I made the culvert garden. That'd be great. Somebody cares.
Perfect. Somebody will listen.
Somebody.
Not me.
No, definitely not. But anyways, thank you for joining us on this episode of TPK, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye for now.
Bye.